5 military exercises used by special forces to build insane legs. You can do them too. Weak legs are the failure point of any soldier, and elite military forces know this better than anyone. While conventional training focuses on isolating muscles on machines, special forces around the world follow a completely different logic, building legs that perform under extreme pressure, on any terrain, with any load, without excuses. The result of this method is a type of strength that goes far beyond the gym. It is the strength that shows up when you need to climb stairs carrying something heavy, change direction at high speed, or simply keep moving for hours without locking up. And here's the detail that few people mention. When you train this way, the physique comes along with it because it is impossible to build this level of capacity without the muscles responding visibly. That is why today you will see 5 military leg exercises that will transform your strength and your body at the same time. Before we begin, please leave your name and the city you are watching from in the comments. We would love to know. Exercise number 1, Ruck March. The weighted march is probably the most representative exercise of military life in any army in the world. Before you think this is something exclusively for soldiers, know that this is one of the most complete exercises that exist for anyone who wants functionally strong and resilient legs without ever setting foot in a gym. The soldier must travel long distances carrying a heavy pack, simulating the real transport of equipment on a mission, which demands muscular, cardiovascular, and mental endurance all at once. This trio is exactly what makes the Ruck March an extraordinary exercise. The benefits go beyond what is visible on the surface. Calves, quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes work continuously and in an integrated way to propel the body forward with each step. The stabilizing muscles of the spine, especially the spinal erectors, operate non-stop to support the weight on the back, which means you are simultaneously strengthening the posterior chain and the core without performing any isolated exercise. It is worth highlighting that the calf is considered the second heart of the body, precisely because of its function of pumping blood back to the heart against gravity. This makes the Ruck March a genuine vascular health exercise as well, not just a strength exercise. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research demonstrated that regular practice of loaded marching with between 25% and 45% of body weight significantly improves maximum oxygen uptake and lower limb strength by up to 18% after 8 weeks of consistent training. Can you imagine the impact of that applied to your current routine? To execute correctly, distribute the weight of the pack evenly, keep the torso upright without leaning excessively forward, and plant the heel firmly with each step. Start with light loads between 22 and 33 pounds for 20 to 30 minutes, gradually progressing to 45 to 60 minutes with 44 to 66 pounds 2 to 3 times per week. The most common mistakes are leaning the torso too far forward, using footwear without adequate cushioning, and increasing the load or distance too quickly, a combination that is the perfect recipe for a stress injury. It is contraindicated for those with active knee problems, hernias or lumbar injuries in the acute phase, and stress fractures in the feet or ankles. Exercise number 2, duck walk. The duck walk is an exercise that appears frequently in special forces training, often used both as conditioning and as a form of punishment, and that alone says a great deal about its level of demand. Try doing 10 meters right now, and you will immediately understand why recruits fear it as much as instructors love it. In the military context, it is valued for developing deep muscular endurance in the lower limbs and ankle mobility, essential qualities for moving in low or confined terrain during tactical operations. The exercise intensely recruits the quadriceps, glutes, adductors, and the stabilizing muscles of the ankle. In addition, the range of motion required by the deep squat position works hip mobility in a way that few exercises can replicate. This mobility is exactly what separates the athlete who moves fluidly from the athlete who keeps getting injured on simple movements. The accumulated time under tension during the walk also represents a significant muscular stimulus for the quadriceps, which must support the body's weight in deep flexion throughout the entire distance. To execute, get into a deep squat with your glutes close to your heels. Keep your heels on the ground, your torso as upright as possible, and your knees pointing outward. From there, advance taking short steps without leaving the position. An important tip: if at first you feel your heels rising, place a pair of weight plates or a small wedge underneath them. This reduces the ankle mobility demand and allows you to perform the exercise while gradually developing your range of motion. Perform 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 meters with with 60 seconds of rest between them. The most common mistakes are raising the heels off the ground, letting the torso fall too far forward, and trying to take long strides, which compromises balance and reduces the muscular efficiency of the movement. It is strongly contraindicated for people with meniscus problems, knee ligament injuries, or patellar pain, as the prolonged deep flexion generates high joint compression that can significantly worsen these conditions. Exercise number 3, jump squat. The explosive squat is one of the most important tools in military training for developing lower limb power, an essential quality when a soldier needs to get off the ground quickly, overcome obstacles, or react in fractions of a second. But what makes this exercise particularly valuable is not just the jump itself. It is what happens at the moment of landing, when the body is forced to absorb a load equivalent to several times the body weight in milliseconds. This impact absorption capacity is what differentiates a resilient athlete from one who gets hurt every time training gets serious. The jump squat primarily works the quadriceps, glutes, and calves in the drive phase, with strong hamstring activation during landing, which acts as the movement's natural brake. This combination of force production and absorption is what characterizes true functional power training. The gluteus maximus, which is the largest muscle in the human body, plays a central role in this exercise, generating the propulsive force of the jump and absorbing the load on the way down. A large and well-trained muscle like this also enhances the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption effect after the workout, elevating caloric expenditure for hours after you have already left the gym. To execute, start from a squat position with feet shoulder-width apart, descend until your thighs are parallel to the ground, and then push through the floor with maximum force to jump vertically, fully extending the body in the air. On landing, absorb the impact by bending the knees softly, never hitting the ground with rigid legs. This detail is the most important part of the entire exercise. Perform 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions with 90 seconds of rest. The main mistakes are knee valgus on landing, meaning the knees collapsing inward, not absorbing the impact, and performing the exercise without a well-established foundation in conventional squatting. Before you jump, you need to know how to squat with quality. It is contraindicated for those with active knee pain, unstable ankles, or beginners without sufficient base strength to sustain the impact of landing. Before we continue, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Having consistent access to science-based information is what will allow you to progress with long-term health in the world of exercise. Exercise number 4, hill sprints. Uphill sprints are considered one of the most complete and efficient exercises in the Special Forces arsenal, precisely because they replicate the demand of moving quickly over uneven terrain, which is a constant reality in field operations. And there is an interesting physiological detail here that few people mention. The incline naturally reduces the impact on the joints while simultaneously increasing muscular recruitment compared to sprinting on flat ground. This means you work more intensely while protecting your knees and ankles more. It is hard to find that balance in other exercises. Quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, and calves work powerfully and in an integrated manner during the climb, while the cardiovascular system operates near its maximum limit. The gluteus maximus, being the primary driver of the movement, is recruited with particular intensity during the uphill sprint, far more than in flat sprinting. This happens because the slope of the terrain increases the demand for hip extension, which is exactly the primary function of that muscle. Practitioners who regularly include this exercise in their routine notice improvements in acceleration, drive force, and high-intensity endurance within weeks. To execute correctly, lean the torso slightly forward in the direction of the slope, keep the arms moving rhythmically and vigorously parallel to the body, attack the ground with the front of the foot, and take short, powerful strides. Sprint uphill at maximum effort for 10 to 30 seconds and walk back down for active recovery. The descent on foot is not passive rest. It keeps circulation active and prepares the neuromuscular system for the next effort. Perform 6 to 10 sprints per session, resting 60 to 90 seconds between them, twice per week. The most common mistakes are taking strides that are too long and reduce movement efficiency, not resting enough between sprints and compromising the quality of effort, and skipping the prior warm-up. A sprint performed at half intensity because the rest period was too short is physiologically worthless. It is contraindicated for people with uncontrolled heart conditions, active knee or ankle injuries, and beginners without a minimum established aerobic base. Exercise number number 5, reverse lunge. The reverse lunge is preferred over the traditional forward lunge within military training precisely because it is safer for the knees during long, high-volume sessions without losing any muscular efficiency. This distinction matters more than it might seem. In military protocols, volume is high and frequency is greater than in most conventional routines. Therefore, using a variation that preserves the joints more without reducing results is not a minor protocol detail, it is a strategic decision that separates intelligent training from training that works for a while and then causes injury. A study of electromyography published in the Journal of Human Kinetics demonstrated that the reverse lunge activates the glutes between 20 and 30% more than the conventional forward lunge, while simultaneously reducing stress on the patellofemoral joint significantly. The primary muscles worked are the glutes, quadriceps, and hamstrings, with a strong unilateral component that corrects imbalances between the two sides of the body. This functional symmetry is especially relevant for anyone who needs reliable performance on any terrain, but is also very important for any practitioner who wants to build real, sustainable strength over the long term. To execute, start standing with feet together, take a wide step back and lower the rear knee close to the ground without touching it, keep the torso upright and the front knee aligned over the ankle, and drive through the front heel against the floor to return to the starting position. A bonus tip: by mentally focusing on pressing the front heel down rather than simply standing up, you automatically increase the recruitment of the gluteus maximus and hamstrings, making the exercise even more efficient. Do not underestimate this focus adjustment. It completely changes what you feel in the movement. Perform 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions per leg with 60 seconds of rest. The most common mistakes are leaning the torso forward, allowing the front knee to travel past the line of the toes, and not controlling the descent, thereby losing the eccentric phase that represents a significant portion of the exercise's hypertrophy potential. It is contraindicated for those with active knee or hip injuries involving inflammation. If you have made it this far, you already have in your hands an arsenal of exercises that special forces use to build legs that never fail. But there is an important detail that many people overlook. Elite military personnel also train the muscles no one sees, because those are precisely the muscles that prevent the injuries that put a soldier out of action. That is why we have prepared 2 bonus exercises that will complete everything you have just seen. Bonus exercise number 1, isometric glute bridge. The glute bridge with a hold serves a function within military training that is often underestimated by those looking from the outside, protecting the lower back and strengthening the posterior chain in a deep and safe manner, preventing the injuries that arrive silently after weeks of accumulated load. A soldier who marches for hours with 55 pounds on their back, executing repeated jumps and sprints, is imposing enormous pressure on the lower back. If the muscles that support this region are not trained in a specific way, sooner or later something gives. And in the military context, that means going out of action at the worst possible moment. The exercise primarily works the glutes, hamstrings, and spinal erectors, which need to be strong and resilient to sustain heavy loads for long periods without collapsing. The gluteus maximus, being the largest muscle in the human body, is the main protagonist of this exercise. When this muscle is well developed and correctly activated, it stabilizes the pelvis, relieves pressure on the lower back, and enhances the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption effect after training, since large muscles demand more energy to recover, generating elevated caloric expenditure for hours after the end of the session. To execute, lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor at hip width apart. Contract the glutes forcefully and elevate the hips until a straight line is formed between the knees, hips, and shoulders, sustaining that position with maximum contraction for the stipulated time. Perform 3 to 4 sets with a hold of 30 to 60 seconds in the elevated position, resting 60 seconds between them. To progress, gradually increase the hold time, moving from 30 to 60 seconds as strength improves. The most common mistakes are letting the hips drop during the hold, which turns an excellent exercise into a nearly useless movement, not fully contracting the glutes at the top and hyperextending the lower back at the highest point of the movement, which can cause discomfort and completely shifts the focus of the exercise away from the posterior chain and onto the spine. It is contraindicated in cases of acute lower back pain or inflammatory phases of hip injuries. Bonus exercise number 2, lateral shuffle. The lateral displacement displacement in a low position is a central exercise in military tactical training because it directly replicates the need to change direction quickly without losing combat posture, something essential in urban operations, perimeter control, and terrain coverage. The soldier rarely moves in a straight line. They cover angles, close gaps, and reposition laterally with agility and control. And this requires a type of strength that traditional squats and lunges simply do not develop in the same way, because all of them work in the sagittal plane. The lateral shuffle lives in the lateral plane, and that is precisely where most injuries occur. The exercise intensely works the gluteus medius, adductors, abductors, and the stabilizing muscles of the knee, muscles that are frequently neglected in conventional routines and that are directly responsible for the lateral stability of the body. When these muscles are weak, any sudden change of direction becomes a window of vulnerability for ankle sprains, lateral knee ligament injuries, and iliotibial band syndrome. Training the lateral plane is not a compliment, it is a foundation. To execute, position yourself in a semi-squat with knees slightly bent, feet shoulder-width apart and torso upright, and move laterally, taking quick, controlled steps without crossing your feet, maintaining the low position throughout the entire displacement. The low position is not optional. It is exactly what defines whether you are working the right muscles or simply walking sideways in workout clothes. A mistake I see many people make is starting the exercise in a squat and gradually rising throughout the distance, losing all the muscular recruitment that characterizes the movement. Perform 4 to 6 sets of 15 to 20 meters to each side with 45 to 60 seconds of rest between them. The most common mistakes are staying in too upright a position and losing the muscular recruitment of the exercise, crossing the feet during the displacement, which significantly increases the risk of falling, and losing muscular tension in the legs throughout the repetitions. It is contraindicated for people with ankle ligament instability, lateral knee ligament injuries, or patellofemoral syndrome in the acute phase. If you enjoyed this and want to discover more military exercises used to train other parts of the body and transform yourself into a complete machine, we have a video appearing right now on screen showing each of them in detail. Make sure to check it out. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and God bless you, my friend.